Hey guys, I've been using this bench now for a couple of months and I think I want to make some improvements to it. One is to put on a new top, the other is to put on this bigger vise, and also I want to move the tool well and I want to add some drawers to this bench. So let's get started. When I originally conceived this bench, I wanted it to be modular so I can take it apart easily because I didn't really know what I wanted. So taking off the vise as well as the tool well, I placed it in the middle of the bench because I just wanted to give it a try. And I find that it gets in the way sometimes. If I put tools in there, they're a little bit raised above the top of the bench and they're sort of in the way. So I'm going to move it towards the back. The new vise required me to cut a new bit of a trench here to accommodate it. And this vise is about 10 inches long. So it's huge and it's heavy, but it's got a large capacity. I'm just bolting it in here. You'll notice how light the bench is right now. A little bit later I'll show you how much more difficult it is to lift it up. The smaller bench and the lighter bench accommodated the smaller vise well. But with this bigger vise, and it's going to be the reinforced parts of the bench. Here I'm demonstrating the long lost technique of freehand pocket hole screws. It hasn't been done like this since the ancient times of probably 1980s. Without the top on, the vise actually sticks above the bench, so I put a piece of wood in there so when I flip it over, it will be resting on that piece of wood instead of steel. And that way, with those reinforcements in, I can go ahead and bolt the vise down properly. More reinforcements for the bench top to prevent the vise from squeezing or crushing the bench. And also put additional reinforcements to the bench top so it's much more stiffer than it was before. The bench top is made from a couple of pieces of MDF. They're 1/2 inch thick and there's 2 of them. I choose to use screws instead of gluing it down because if I make a new bench later, I'll be able to recycle the MDF easily. So there's a little problem with this bench in that it is too top heavy, so I have to take a lot of it apart. I originally designed this with lots of screws because I knew I was going to be able to change things to figure out what I liked, what I wanted and what I don't really care for. So in this case, I'm moving 2 of the stretchers from higher up to lower. I'm installing the bottom of the tool. This is just a 1/4 inch piece of plywood. I installed these stretchers so that I can use the bottom as storage, but also this changes the center of mass. While I have it upside down, I decided to give it some paint. I'm using the table saw to cut the slots for the shelves for the drawers. I'm adjusting the fence so that I can use it like a dado stack, which I do not have. Hello, Dougie. So I'm going to have the 3-drawer carcass here clamped onto the bench. And it looks pretty good in the front, but I think there might be a problem in the back, so let's go take a look. Part of the fun of using scrap material is nothing's ever going to fit quite right. So in this case, this little piece in the back here is a little bit short. So I'm going to move the whole thing back about 1.5 inches. I'm going to have to take some off of right here to fit around the tool well. The joy of using recycled material. You never know what you're going to get. So this is a piece of plywood, 3/4 inch thick, 3/8 inch thick, and I used it. It's leftover from a different project, and most of my old bench top was used to construct this drawer carcass. Lift, fail. The bench is a lot heavier than it looks. Let's try a different leverage point. There you go. The drawers are made from mostly recycled material, as you can tell from all the holes on there, as well as all the discoloration. It's, again, screwed together quickly and fast, but also the advantage of screws is I can take this thing apart and recycle it later. The knobs are turned from a piece of walnut log that I found on the property. It's been drying for a little while, so it was ready to go. And it's simply just drill a hole on the top, set it in and screw it in. Something it's pretty strong, but also easy to take apart and turn for the camera. So I've been using this bench for about 3 months now, and I'm quite satisfied with it. There are some improvements I still want to make, but overall I like it. So I've been using the bottom shelf to store lumber as well as some scrap wood, things that are heavy on the very bottom. Behind the drawers I've put a little cubby, and I use those to store my granite stones. And the drawers I've been filling with things that I need to use but not on a very regular basis, so things like sharpening supply. And with these things in there, the bench is actually quite sturdy. Kind of crank on this vise and there's no problem. I've also faced the jaws of a new vise with some beech hardwood. So as for the old vise, I'm actually going to use this to make a new bench. And you can see the design that I'm looking at here. So the top is only made from this piece of pine board, and the outside is going to be clad with rough sawn walnut that I have to clean up and plane down. So the goal of that bench really is to be able to take it to places or use it as a secondary bench, because sometimes the primary bench just gets really overwhelmed with stuff. And if you want to follow on the progress of that bench here, I would suggest you follow me on Twitter, because well, between finishing and editing is going to take a little bit of time, and you'll probably see this benching action, the finished benching action, before the video actually comes up. So I hope you enjoyed this bench improvement, and I hope to see you again next time.